Just waiting for Mr. Milligan joining us. Good afternoon. Good afternoon all. I'm just waiting for Mr. Milligan joining us. I hope you can hear me okay. I'll move a little closer to the phone and I'll direct my voice at it. So, is the sound okay, folks? Right, here comes Mr. Milligan.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
You're very quiet. Hang on.
I'll lean in a wee bit. Is that any better?
Yes, this old audio engineer, sound engineer's had these well blasted for like 40 odd years. So please understand. Help me, right?
That's why I've got earplugs in, because I'm deep as a fucking doorpost. But never mind. Because you know I've got a hearing aid I don't wear.
Anyway, what we're going to talk about?
You said something about Brexit, did you know?
Aye, I've just been reading there that Richie Neal, he's a congressman, he's bringing across a delegation to, and what's this?
Somebody's trying to phone you.
Wait,
Somebody's trying to phone you, David.
it's a phone. How do you switch off the bloody ringing? Fucking the whole
Just
feed.
the button come up and you just press it. You switch it off. You're supposed to be the tech genius here, no me.
Right, hang on.
Stopped. Oh, brilliant. There you go, folks. That's why we're having a test broadcast. You know. Aye, but that's why we're having a test broadcast, folks, because these things happen. You know. So, Brexit, aye, we're going to talk about Brexit, I think, if he makes it back. Yeah. Milligan, send me another invite to join, another request to join, please. Well, this is how to do a 30-minute show, folks. I'm quiet now, am I? Ah, jeez, oh. What is it with people wanting to phone people when we're live? Now I've got my brother popped up asking if I'm alright for him, if it's alright for him to call me now. Wow. Eh? Hold on, I tell him live. Jesus Christ. Maybe I'll get the message. Anyway, Brexit, aye. We're going to talk about Brexit if Mr. Billy never makes it back. The Two Davies show. There's only one Davy. And I've already had my rant today. Wee Mrs. McGlumper's been bounced all around the day. Alright, I'll tell him I'm calling here. Wow. Oh, here we go. The other Davy's back. Hopefully it'll appear in any second now, folks. Absolutely mental.
Oh, bloody hell.
Don't do that again. It's supposed to be called the Two Davies show, not the One Davies show.
Right, sorry, I was going to say, until I was so rudely interrupted, Richie Neal, who's a congressman, he's bringing a few of the congressmen across. He's on the Ways and Means Committee, and he's the guy that would be extremely influential on any possible trade deal with between Britain and the US. And he's going to Brussels and he's going to go to London and see if he can try and talk some sense into everybody. My feeling is, and we've discussed this, is that this is all brinksmanship. Liz Truss doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. She's being directed on this. And she's being told to put out, oh, we're going to drop the whole thing, tear the whole protocol up and all the rest of it, right? And it's in order to get the EU to look as if they're going to walk away, and at the last moment say, all right, okay, come on, let's get around the table and discuss it. And it gets the EU back around the table to discuss an already agreed agreement where the UK can possibly manage to wangle it to their benefit.
100%, but unfortunately for Liz Truss, she was told no.
Yeah, I know, appreciate that, but it's
I don't think people quite get it. The EU and the citizens of the EU have had enough.
Yeah, hey, it's preaching to the converted, but isn't that the British establishment's way of taking things right to the very brink and then going, right, let's talk about it?
That's why they were saying it was in the start of the negotiations that was how the EU behaved.
Can you turn your camera so that it gets you centre on? That's it. Yeah.
Anyway.
I didn't hear that. Please try that again.
Alexa. Right, okay. That's easy. Turn her down. Yeah. I even phoned the wife and said, don't ring me. You know. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a way to actually block all phone calls. Yes. I want to use this. That's right. There's a way. I'll find it. Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, back to the EU. Now, the EU have had it there. You know, the EU they've already realigned their supply chains.
Yeah.
You know, EU companies are looking at the UK and saying, that's not worth the problem. It's not worth the trouble. It's one of the reasons why commodity prices and inflation are getting so high, because the stuff's just not coming here.
Yeah. I mean, some of the read the other day there, which has been regurgitated many times, is where EU suppliers are just going, it's not worth the trouble. And the fact is they're having to register to pay VAT before the stuff is actually dispatched. So they've got a paperwork trail to do to be able to calculate the VAT on that at the UK level and pay that to HM government in order that they can send it across with the proper paperwork. They're just not that bloody minded. They've got 450 million other people to service in the EU, never mind the 50 odd million that we've got here.
Aye, exactly right. There seems to be a sound problem, David. Unplug the earphones. Then I won't be able to hear him. I'm deaf. But that problem's about to be cured because my young brother's just messaged me saying he's got me a set of earbuds with microphones on it, which will help with the sound.
Now hear this. Now hear this. Listen. Aye, I can hear you loud and clear because I've got these in.
Yeah, I don't think it will help very much though.
Oh, bloody hell, you're too loud. Understand this, folks. This is a broadcast test. We're trying to shake all the bugs out of doing this. And as you can see, there are many. But we'll do this test a few more times before Thursday. So hopefully Thursday can take place and it allows us to do what we want to do. Back to Brexit, right? Come on, David. You've got lots to say on Brexit.
Even if people can hear me now, Brexit, I talk about Brexit, despite the EU have realigned the supply chain. But you've got to remember, when it comes to the EU exporting to the UK, what the Chancellor of the Exchequer doing that would actually shackled it. But they're having to pay VAT at both ends now, as you just mentioned. It's just too expensive. It's just not worth the problem, you know. And these European companies in the EU, they do not have the sort of customs agents required for the paperwork and things like that. And we didn't have them here either. We sort of subbed it out to the companies that were exporting the stuff for us, like the shippers. Davis Turner, a great example of it. You know, you want to get something somewhere, you phone up Davis Turner, you say, I need to get this to Japan. And they say, I send it to us, we'll sort it out there, we'll send you the bill. You know, there's just not that many of them around. Because it was only necessary when you're shipping to other parts of the world. And most companies in the UK and in the EU were shipping back and forward to each other. What was required was already in that marketplace. There was very little things you had to go outside that marketplace for. So the amount of sort of customs agents and things like that are going to need to be trained and things like that. It's unbelievable.
What do you say about the cost of exporting to the EU? I understand that's gone up in level by quite a considerable amount. So, you know, how do you feel it is for the UK or Scottish exporters in terms of cost of doing so?
Well, it's bloody extortionate, but as was pointed out by the CBI, they said that 50 to 60% of small to medium-sized businesses no longer trade with the EU. They just don't. It's too expensive.
So, what's going to be the net effect to Scottish exporters going forward?
Going to devastate our export market. Our export market, to make this simple and let everybody understand, our export market just went from 28 countries to 3 countries and a province within this island and a wee bit of the island next door. That is now the market for 50 to 60% of our companies, firms across Scotland and across the UK. To let you understand that, SMEs, they're called, small to medium-sized enterprises, employ almost 70% of the UK workforce. And if 60% of them don't have a market to sell into anymore except for the internal market, they're going under. Throw in increased energy costs, throw in increased commodity prices for the things that they actually manufacture. These businesses are going tip top.
Yeah.
And sorry for the colourful metaphor, but I mean, just to make it quite simple for everybody to understand, we had a market of 500 million people to sell to, and there was no barriers to selling to them. Now our small and medium enterprises, who employ the majority of people, only have a market of 65 million to sell into, which means we have more companies making things than what we actually need. So, to use Jacob Rees-Moggs's, this is natural wastage. This is the Maggie days. And you're talking about increased drilling for oil and gas. How do you think they're going to pay for the Maggie days again? Right in the middle of a climate catastrophe. Wow, this is nutty stuff, by the way. It really is. When you see it in the whole, it's absolute vandalism. It's economic vandalism.
But you can't look at it in the whole. If you looked in the whole, you'd go batty over it, because it all looks like what we were talking about the other day there, genocide. It's where it seems to be there is a master plan that is killing every one of us.
Genocide is not the word that's being used here, David. The word that's being used here, right across industry and government, is natural wastage.
Yeah.
in order to try and survive. These companies will offload as many employees to try and survive as they can, but they're not going to survive. And just think about the hit that's going to be on the exchequer, because all these companies have got bounce back loans for the pandemic. All these companies have been lent up to 400 billion quid between them. And they're talking about having to write 127 billion a year off because these companies are going belly up. We're talking about, this is the stuff I was talking about in 2016-17 when Brexit was supposed to happen, where the mass unemployment and the contraction in the market, the problems in the food supply chains. I've been talking about this stuff for the last 6 years.
I noticed Austin Butler's made a good point. I'll come back to Robert's point, but he said be as well not exporting perishable goods can never make the market in saleable condition. For example, you've got Loch Fyne Oysters, who used to export a huge amount of shellfish, oysters, to Paris every day. Every day it went south, right? It was just a constant train of shellfish going to the Parisian market for the restaurants. That can't happen now because they would never get there fresh.
No.
Yeah. So it's there you go. There's a huge exporter now kiboshed by what's going on. This cannot continue. This is impossible. If this continues, we're going to see Scotland become a third world state, literally, overnight.
Not just Scotland.
I know. I'm only interested in Scotland.
There is, of course, an out for us, provided the people wise up to take it. As I say, this is deliberate economic vandalism. We talk about economic vandalism, which we're talking about today, and we're talking about markets. When you have a market economy, as we know, you've got people who spend into that market. But when people can't spend into that market shrinks. It just goes back to the bare essentials of what people need to survive, and they will pay for what they need to survive. Food, heat, light. Everything else goes by the wayside.
Yeah.
You know, so this is economic illiteracy, it's vandalism, but it's also quite.
Yeah.
Margaret Thatcher used the very same tactics to get rid of heavy industry. I don't know what the objective of the Tory party is here, because the England's, specifically England, had what's called a service economy.
Yep.
They sold professional services around the world. Now, when they left the EU, there was no equivalence. So they can't sell those services into 27 countries.
Yeah.
And these 27 countries are among the 27 richest countries on the planet, and they were the people that were buying these services.
Can I just bring up something else that's been said? Alistair Watson says, I live and work in France as a head chef in a restaurant, and 90% of my seafood comes from Fraserburgh. Alistair, is it possible you can tell us if there's been any dramatic effect in the supply of that seafood, or are you still getting some of it through? Thank you. All right, so carry on, David. Sorry.
Where was I? Give me a prompt.
Sorry.
Economic illiteracy, so we were. So, I mean, Alistair's absolutely right. I bet the price of his fish in his restaurant went up. Because the cost of getting it there's just went up. Yeah,
that's right.
Gordon Ross made a cracking point last night, actually. And it was a point you made in one of your blogs about a rampant profiteering by the energy giants. Because they know they're in their death throw. They need to bring in as much money as they can in order for them to be able to make a transition and take control of the renewables markets. Yeah. So that they can still control the cost of energy.
However, can I just briefly put in a point on that?
Aye.
We're looking at the large energy giants bringing forth what's called blue hydrogen as being their green solution. Blue hydrogen is not green at all. It's produced from natural gas. And I want everyone to understand that. It is not a green fuel at all. It produces as much carbon as natural gas, as oil does, or whatever, right? So blue hydrogen is produced entirely differently. It's by using electricity to split the water into its component parts, which is hydrogen and oxygen. That is green, and it's the most plentiful molecule in the entire universe, hydrogen. So the sun is made of hydrogen and helium, and therefore we've got lots of hydrogen. 4/5 of the globe is covered with water, and even if you do split off hydrogen from oxygen by splitting water, at the end of the day, what comes out of, say, an exhaust pipe on a car, if it uses hydrogen, is water, because it combines with the oxygen in the air and turns back into water again.
Right, now, let's get back to the comments. Alistair says, the supply chain is still working, but the big difference is the price.
Right.
Yeah. Hugh, I've read your message, Hugh. Don't send me any more. It pops up out of the comments and I can't see the comments. Why are people not asking for Tories to go in question time when they were on question time last night? You're ready to lynch the Tory. You were ready to lynch the Tories on the panel, were you? Listen, actually, when we have a look at the actual media and the Tory party and how they're behaving towards the media, if you seen me Michael Gove the other day, it was just take piss. They don't care what the media has to say. They're not really interested in asking questions. They are really ripping the Michael right out of the English people.
Yeah.
We stop here, you've got guys like you and I, and we've got the independent media, we'll chat about these things and point these things out.
Yeah.
You know, but I've watched the Muppets that have been put up day after day after day after day after day to go on GMB and things like that. I get the clips, I get the notifications on YouTube so I can see the clips, right? And they're just taking the piss.
Yeah.
You know, it's like calling a call centre where they've got that script they've got to read for. That's what we are seeing here. And every now and again, there's throwing a comedy act like we Michael Gove to kid on. He's free. One minute he's a top, next minute he's a jock, next minute he's a Liverpudlian, you know, selling the union message while saying nothing. You know, you've never seen it like it. But to get back to Alistair's point there about saying that, you know, the audience were ready to lynch them. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Anne, because it's time people doing that would get angry. Sorry, I misread Anne's comment. Anne's comment was that the audience was question time last night. As you know, I don't watch television, folks. The audience in question time last night were going to lynch the Tories on the panel. About bloody time. Alistair, hold on, what's he got? Razor clams. Wait a minute. Alistair, razor clams, lobster, haddock, sea bass, and cod, still constant below the restaurant. You work for Victor Hugo Market, 6 separate fishmongers, and all are still receiving the fish from Fraserburgh. The only thing now is we don't get the oysters. They come from somewhere in France now. Thanks for that, Alistair. That's really, really helpful.
That's useful, of course. That's.
Yes.
That's where we say on the Two Davies show, you're the star. You're the ones that are going to make it. Yeah. Yeah.
As I say, I don't watch Question Time, David. I don't know if you watched it last night or no, but apparently the audience, Anne's telling me the audience was ready to lynch the Tory on the panel. That's good. That is good. It's going to. It would appear that the public are getting. I've had enough of getting the piss ripped to them.
Yeah.
And see, and let's get back to Brexit. As we know, Brexit's coming in increments, although they intend to try and kick it down the line again. This is what a lot of this brinksmanship the EU is about, right?
Yeah.
Because as we know, July, more and more products will then have to be subject to customs. And I believe in July, that's when the medicines are medicines are going to start being checked. And we're starting to see shortages of these things already.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, the big one is in November, because that's when meat products are subject to full checks. And at the moment, we're that short of butchers, we're actually exporting our goods to the EU to be processed, and then we're importing them back at the moment.
Yeah,
Now,
hence the cost.
The supermarkets are taking up that cost, most of that cost at the moment. It is being passed on. We're seeing food price inflation rise, But if you're wondering why these things are more expensive, it's because not just energy costs. If you take meat products for pork, especially at this point in time, it's being sent into Europe to be processed, and then it's being brought back before it goes into their market.
Yeah.
We just don't have enough butchers.
Okay, what about the
The kids of the wait a minute, David, let me finish this point.
yeah.
The kids of the day don't want to be chopping bloody meat. They want to be sitting in front of a computer. You know.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of being able to train enough butchers, unless they get round up a lot of old guys like you and me, you know, that have the stomach for that sort of thing, then they're not going to be able to train enough butchers either.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Freedom of movement, ending freedom of movement was probably the craziest thing they did. You know, and what it's happened is that immigration from elsewhere in the world to plug the gap has increased. Fruit pickers for India are not going home, they're staying. You know?
Yeah.
Whereas those for Eastern Europe were out here to earn a few quid so that they could survive going through university. Because they weren't paying university tuition fees, but they needed money to pay for rent and things like that as they travelled. You know? So ending freedom of movement was absolutely nuts because we were already importing huge amounts of butchers, fruit pickers, plumbers, joiners, all the trades. We've got shortages in the morning. We've got they're calling it a skills shortage again. Well, the EU and freedom of movement plugged the gap in the skills shortage.
Yeah.
And all this crap about it bringing down wages, it did not. Because we have a legal minimum wage that's got to be bloody paid.
Yeah.
And the man will get paid what his neighbour's getting paid in the same bloody job. Because that's why we had EU workers' rights. People were treated like mugs. You know, the Polish guy wasn't getting paid any less than me for driving the truck. There's employment law to prevent that. If a sound engineer for Poland came out and the two of you were going in on a project, he might underbid you a wee bit, but there's a minimum that guy would be willing to work for.
Yeah.
You know, because he values his talent.
Yeah.
So the idea that these people were forcing down wages and keeping down wages was bollocks. To use another colourful metaphor.
The tourism in Scotland, as you all know, many of the hotels cannot pick up any workers that they did before get from the EU. On temporary contracts, people that get young lads and lasses coming across from the EU to come and see Scotland, they'd go and take a job in a hotel. That would give them the pennies they need to actually go out and enjoy themselves, night time, a weekend, whatever, right? And now that's gone, and I do know a lot of hotels are struggling for staff. So, and tourism is, I wouldn't call it a corner pin of Scotland's economy. However, it is one of the main, one of the major contributors to Scotland's economy, because we've got a beautiful country and we need people, places where people can come and stay. And if they come and stay in a place that's badly run because there's no staff, then they're going to look at it and go, Scotland, very nice, but no going back. You know.
We're back to the days like it used to be when I was a kid, when you went on a day trip, went holiday in Scotland here. Saturdays or Sundays there wasn't any staff for cafes and things like that. So 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the cafes were shut.
Yeah.
You had to take a flask and a sandwich because you couldn't get a cafe.
Right, that's us. Time up for the half-hour test. All right.
Aye, we better, but I want to read this one now. What about P&O offering their Dutch employees
I know.
pay rise only months after getting shut off? Yep. Aye. Good point, Sean. You know, and what's interesting about P&O thing, because we need to round this up, 30 seconds. Interesting about P&O thing is, it was only British workers that laid up, all the European staff kept on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed that, folks. I hope you found it interesting and informative, and we'll catch you all again. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.